Well, we told you that we're going to have the love experience. It is a Valentine's Day package. It is going to be at the Plush Labadi Beach Hotel. All you need to do is just get some great tickets. It's just 3 days away, and the tickets seem to be running out very fast. So we have some great experiences. We've also been getting the calls from the corporate clients and those who want some great packages. So there are packages for 5, 10, 15, etc. All you need to do to be part of the love experience, where we're going to have the great Becca and Love Songster, Kwabena, all treating you to some great renditions of music, is to make sure you call the number 02434303337, and you will enjoy some great time at the Labadi Beach Hotel just by buying, if you're an individual, a ticket for 700 Ghana cedis just to get there that evening. But if you want to have a cozy experience, sleep over, you know, after having some great time at the beach, being treated to this good music by Becca and Kwabena. So great bread and breakfast for Valentine's Day. You know, it's a Friday too, so Charlie, time no, just transition to the weekend. One group of people who don't have time are MPs, Charlie, for celebrate Valentine, but their constituents too, they pull them. So we've got two of them in the studio. We have Ebenezer Okletey Terlabi, Member of Parliament for Lower Manya Krobo, right here. How are you?
Fine.
Great. And then we also do have a Member of Parliament for Sekondi, legal practitioner Andrew Ejapamesa is also a regular on the show. Thank you for passing through.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and we have to discuss the topical issues, but I have to say that the president has been to the African Union Summit, and it looks like he's been getting some great accolades all right through there. But that's also good because it's coming on the back of us getting some great responses from the bond that was floated, for which we had the roadshow in Europe. And it looks like we're getting some great accolades there, right?
Absolutely. And let me use the opportunity to say good morning to our cherished viewers, particularly those in my constituency Sekondi, and of course to my very good friend Terlabi and yourself. Of course, the Euro bonds, the coupon rate and the oversubscription that we got is as a result of the fact that the international community, particularly the international financial community, is recognizing the stellar economic performance that this government has rolled out in the past 3 years. Clearly, if you recall, in 2016, thereabout, the global ratings, which essentially sets by way of how they rate you, what it is that investors would wish to pay for bonds that you issue, downgraded Ghana significantly. Indeed, our outlook B- with a negative outlook. Today, of course, we had risen all the way to B in the past during President Akuffo-Addo's era. Okay, within the 4 years of Mr. Mahama's governance, Ghana took a tank on the international global ratings outlook, and that impacted the cost of borrowing that we could contract in the region of some 10.25, if you recall, the last bonds that our friends in the NDC issued. But when the MPP came, clearly, a successful exit from the IMF program, which benchmarks 18 months after they commenced the program, they were unable to meet even one. And these are matters of record that you can check. 18 months after His Excellency Nana Akuffo-Addo, all the indicators were looking in the right direction. We successfully exited. Of course, at the point, we had the wherewithal to negotiate for waivers of some of the benchmarks necessarily, because we had done significantly well on major benchmarks that had been set by the IMF. And so we got the 777s last year, and this year as well, we've had a rate of 6.25, I believe. That's very significant. And so it's not surprising to me. But of course, internally, we hear the hue and cry. We hear the chanting. But every global player that you speak to particularly our brothers on the African continent. All hail His Excellency the President for the good work that he is doing for this country. Of course, some of the results would be felt immediately. Others are medium to long term. And those who are objective, who do not wear political lenses, clearly see that Ghana is on the right track under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akuffo-Addo. And I'm hopeful that that will reflect in 2020 general elections for this government to be given another mandate to do more.
No, I was asking you a preliminary. Just
oh yeah, of course. I mean, this is preliminary. This is preliminary response
as well.
to a preliminary loaded question.
Addis Ababa and Charlie took it. You just nailed it. Oh.
It's important,
you've honed your trade.
Because the next minute you see where we end up.
But the reality is that we're getting good accolades. It's almost like when you speak to some of the critics, it's almost like somebody who dresses well, but the home is all untidy, and we need to have ordinary people on the ground having a feel of how good people tend to look at us.
But you see, Roland, that's inaccurate.
Because the finance minister, when he appeared on Newsfile, said that was he said that was a negative, a wrong narrative, a misconception. That's what he said. That people don't feel it in their pockets. What do you say to that? Because internationally, I have good friends in the UK, etc. who keep telling
international accolades as a reflection of what happens here, not internationally.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and good morning.
Yeah, it brings aid and loans and grants.
And at the point he said, objective. People should be objective and not to politicize. But what did he do here? He decided to veer into, talk about.
But that is objectivity.
Oh, really? I see. Then
it depends on which lenses you're looking at.
Yes, certainly. But one will also ask if Dr. Bawumia still believes that you have to go to Malata to get to know the effect of the economy or the indicators, on our people.
Yes.
If he still believes that you have to go to Makola, then I'm just reminding him that the people of Makola, Malata are still, expecting him to come and ask for the prices of goods. Because at a point in time, when the GS Ghana, Statistical Services came out with some, indicators, he rubbished them and said, they are not a true reflection, and that he believes that when the fundamentals are not right, it is the exchange rate. And what are we seeing now? Right? Today, we have some sort of, stability, or the CD appears to be gaining, having some gains insofar as the forex is concerned. But you see, it is on the back of what is happening in China, which I believe is temporary. Seriously, because you see, China, whether you like it or not, it's the #1 trading partner of Africa, and we trade. All the businesses, all the businessmen, what they do is go after the dollar for their transactions. Today, nobody wants to go and get coronavirus, and therefore we will not go there. And therefore we have, the CD, has some respite, and that is what
creating the stability.
The stability. So let's wait and see.
But that's
so you cannot enjoy when your friends and colleagues are suffering, right? You cannot claim that you are doing anything special when the actual issue is that these people have a problem today. Even the price of oil, right? Because China, buys a lot now. The price is tumbling today. I hear Talo wants to cut down on their staff and other things because of the effects of what is happening. So if you are rejoicing, please let's be careful. Let's be very careful.
But you see, okay. But let's move on. That's not a subject that we want to talk about. Look, now let's talk about missing excavators.
Okay.
And concerns that have been raised about the complicity of key officials of various government ministries or departments and agencies, people who should know better, who are being mentioned allegedly in viral videos. We have a commentary, for example, in a viral video in which we had Kowuzi, one of the main protagonists in this. There's also a voice that sounds like the minister, Frimpong Boateng, etc. But we also do know that this is on the back of the fact that the president had put his presidency on the line because it was a commitment he intended undertaking to ensure that that activity was streamlined in such a way that those who would want to make entry would do that in a more sanitized way. But it looks like it's all just tumbled, so to speak. How would you assess your own observations so far about how government is dealing with this?
Well, thank you, Roland. Certainly, our, so-called fight against Galamsey has failed, and failed totally. And I remember, some comments I made on the floor of Parliament when this issue came up, and I said, look, the approach that this government, has decided to embark on will fail. It will not be, it will not help the situation. And I remember, from both sides, even some of my colleagues even, criticized what I said. They did not really, they were not in sync with what, I said. And indeed, this is what is happening. Because what I said was that, look, if you just mobilize people, right, and then you have them go after, the Galamseyers, those who are doing the digging and the washing and whatever, you might end up not getting the big fishes. Because those who are really into the business are sitting somewhere in Accra, and then they just send people, right? And then, what actually happens is that another thing that, which has happened and which is playing out now very clear is the fact that I said something. I said, look, the soldiers, the police, even those that you put on, that team, end up being converted. Because when they start seeing the gold, they also, have appetite for money, right? And that is exactly what is happening now, to the extent that a minister can say that, oh, the party needs money, and therefore we also have to,
The minister has not said.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, look, he accepted on the tape that we need money. Yes, the party needs money. Because Kowuzi said, well, the one who said we should, organize and get these people so that we can get money for the party to run.
That's not true.
Yes. Oh, that is what he said. People
That's not on the tape.
See, it is.
Please.
It is there.
Look, Roland, you can play it.
Oh, do you have the tape? If you have the tape, just play it so that
Let's move on.
You understand? My brother, you see, look, Frimpong Boateng is a very good friend of mine. And I hate to, say things, that are negative about people, especially when it is not true. But this is what I heard. And if it is the voice that I know, which I believe it is the voice of
maybe doctor.
Oh well, then we shouldn't even be discussing it at all. If we believe that it is doctored, but the fact is that we have, the voice of Frimpong Boateng on tape. Actually, in any case, my brother, if indeed the president was that serious about, fighting Galamsey, then he could have started with, his, the secretary to the interministerial committee, when he was seen on video, audio visual.
That had to be investigated. We had the CID go and investigate it, and the CID has come out with this position. The reality of the situation is also because the Office of the Special Prosecutor was taking a look at it and hasn't concluded. And that's why we are at a stalemate. That does not in any way brings into question the commitment of the president and even government on the subject. You can talk about how it's but the commitment of the president, I don't think could be questioned at all, because he's even put his presidency on the line. No, but
he's still, you see, we have all this happening. He's still at the putting the presidency at the.
Who is that?
The president is still at the Flagstaff House.
But he's the president.
Yes.
Over many other related things.
Certainly. So, what do you mean by putting his presidency,
But publicly...
What does he mean? What does he mean? What does he mean?
That he wants to be successful at making sure he
and if he doesn't, what happens? If you put your head on line, if you put your neck on the line, what happens? What it means is that, You are prepared to sacrifice whatever you have, you know, if you lose, if you are not successful, isn't it? Right? And here we are. I mean, the indicators, if you care, right, just, you know, take a visit to the, you know, the Pra, the Cobra, the whatever, and everything. You go and see. The color itself will tell you that we have failed.
False part of its constituency.
I mean, and the color of the water itself. And I mean, Ghana Water Sewage is also complaining, right? So the results, it is there. They are there for us to see. You don't need to sit in Accra and be telling me, go there, right? And if the president said, if I don't succeed, right, I will exchange that with my president. He's still sitting there. But what I'm saying, I mean, the most important thing is that if the president were that serious, when the issue of this, is it BCU, the secretary to the interministerial committee, when he was seen openly on video, taking bribes, facilitating, you know, Galamsey.
That was in, right? In perspective. That's why the investigations are.
What kind of event? How long? What happened to President Teti? Was it not the same video that we saw that made the president, you know, ask that he, you know, we had the interim committee? Do he still is President Teti still at post? No.
But the gentleman,
right? But today,
the gentleman,
no, but he's still there. But he's been clear and he's back at the Flagstaff House as I speak to you today.
No. He's a presidential staffer who has been co-opted.
So? To
work at the Interministerial Committee on Mining. That's a different thing. So if you're not working at the committee, you go back to your position. Because then you have nothing, you don't interfere with investigations. You don't think that is right?
No, that is not right.
And we can set examples. There's Elvis Afriye.
Please.
There's
you see, when I mean such comparisons, you know.
Oh no. I'm not comparing the actions. I'm talking about people who had assume a certain portfolio,
right,
and because of certain actions that were undertaken, and they feel conflicted, they have to go and assume their rightful position.
Afriye was not indicted.
It's okay.
Anyway.
Let's.
What I'm saying is that we had a precedent. Judges were removed from office because they were seen on tape, right? DFA president was seen on tape
after investigations.
Which investigation?
But the judges after investigation.
Okay, DFA president.
After investigation.
Which investigation? Did you see any report after the number 12?
After investigation.
Did you see any
investigation?
After the number 12?
CID had come in, etc.
And what was what was the report? You understand? Did you see any? Did you cite any report? Have you seen any report? But we still have the DFA president.
You're a member of parliament. The Freedom of Information Act is still active. You can go and ask the CID for it. No. You see, you are making a statement, and I want all of us as politically exposed actors to be able to make statements that we can defend at any point in time. I'm not saying that what you're saying, you may be right or wrong. I'm saying that for information that is in the public domain, if you want it, you can always get access to it. That's all.
There is no information. There is no information. But the president acted based on, you know, the
So you're saying this is a total failure?
It's a failure. We have failed. To the extent that, you know, you see, sometimes we talk about Ghana, the image of Ghana, and people would want to, you know, talk about other things as having effect on the image of Ghana outside. Look, if you have a situation where Ghana, a country that has signed onto various, you know, agreements so far as a UN conventions on the environment and whatever are concerned. Then you have a minister leading a team, right? Confiscate, you know, excavators, and these excavators just vanish into thin air. You think it's not an embarrassment enough to Ghana? You think we'll still have the kind of respect that we have when we appear on such platforms and proclaim, you know, that we are fighting, you know, Galamsey, touting all the things that we are doing here on international platforms? You think we'll still have that? No, we have failed. We have failed because at the end of the day, all those people on those committees, they got converted from the, you know, from the presidency, because I believe seriously that if Frimpong Boateng the party believe that they need money, and the source, okay, will be from Galamsey, then the president knows about it. Because the leader of the party. And everything that goes on in the party, the president is privy to it. Unless otherwise they'll tell me that once he became the president, he ceased to be part of the party. But there's nothing that will happen in that party that the president wouldn't know about it. So I will place the blame right at his doorstep.
Roland, it is these videos that you are showing on your screen that clearly necessitated the need for us to take a second look at the Galamsey menace. You see, our friends in the NDC wish that we don't succeed. Yes. Because if you had this country at heart, if you were that patriotic and there were issues with a certain activity that government has embarked upon, which clearly has some challenges, you wouldn't sit here and happily proclaim that we have failed. You see, there are two issues as far as I'm concerned. There's the Galamsey fight, which went through a certain process. First, with the total ban on the activities of illegal operators, and then also the seizure of the equipment, subsequently the lifting of the ban, the setting up of these community mining program that allowed people to go back and mine. That's different. Now, if there are issues with people going back into mining, particularly in our water bodies, let us deal with it and separate that from the loss of equipment that were given to an entity's custody, for which some cannot be accounted for. That's different. But the sense that I get is that we've jumbled all together and treating it as one issue. They can never be. Because you see, no, hold on. The excavators were seized as a result of a central operation that was undertaken over time. Those excavators could not have been left at the site where they were seized. So a decision was taken to put them at a central location. The minister says that we did not have one location to keep all these equipment. So a third party who is an auctioneer was introduced to me. And then we contracted that person to have custody of those equipment whilst we look for another place. Subsequently, Ghana Civil Aviation have given them some location where they can keep these equipment. So they asked the gentleman, in this case, the suspender, hold on, please, hold on, please, I don't need help.
Please.
Just let me make my point. Okay? Now, when the gentleman was asked to account for the excavators that had been given to him for safekeeping, he failed to account for all of them, based on which the minister subsequently made a report to the police to investigate the whereabouts of those excavators. That's a completely separate matter. But what is it that our friends in the NDC are seeking to do? What is it?
You're a member of parliament.
So you see...
No.
Yes,
no,
please.
You're a member of parliament for Second Day.
Yes.
Your constituency is heavily affected by the actions or inactions of these Galamsey.
Yes.
Okay. Now, at the heart of the current impasse is the fact that the program of action that was signed off by the president has not been well implemented in relation to the roadmap, for which complicit in not enabling the ministry, the committee, and overall government's own policy direction to sanitize the industry, being affected by party officials, heads of a ministry, and then agents.
What's the basis of that assertion?
Agents and assigns of the party.
Look, and we'll deal with the content of the tape.
Who have now brought into disrepute the president's own commitment he made to the Ghanaian people.
I don't see it at all. People are spinning it for political purpose. Look, I'm saying that the fight against Galamsey and the protection of our water bodies was intended to be manned by certain individuals, including the Ghana military. We have all heard accusations of Operation Vanguard personnel being compromised and providing security for people to mine even in our water bodies. Is it factual? That ought to be investigated, of course. I'm sitting here, would not know. But we need to get to the bottom of that, okay, and find out whether indeed people have gone back to mine in our water bodies following the lifting of the ban. And if so, do we then as a nation take a decision to ban illegal mining or small-scale artisanal mining completely? That's a conversation that we should be having.
What you're saying, does that not give ample testimony to the fact that the whole program of action or roadmap has failed?
How so? How so? Unless, of course, you're saying that because we have allowed small-scale artisanal miners to go back to mine, that in itself is a failure of the policy. Because, you see, the policy was simple, as far as I'm concerned. People were mining irresponsibly. They were damaging our environment. They were destroying our water bodies. Put a break to it. Let us put in place a program that allows people to still mine, but do so in a responsible manner. Correct? Now, clearly, if people are still breaching the rules that have been set, we need to get to the bottom of that.
Now let me ask you a question. I agree. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If you look at from the time when we had this roadmap starting, in which we had a committee that has started its work, we were succeeding, won't you say?
Yeah, because the ban was in place.
I remember.
The ban was fully in place.
You came to sit here.
Absolutely.
And you even bore testimony to the fact that when
by drone by Dan Cobra. Yes, true.
Exactly.
And you see,
you told me that.
But because at that time, the ban was in place. Total ban on mining was in place and was working. But now the ban has been lifted. Because we can't deprive Ghanaians from enjoying the benefit of the resource that God has given us.
So you're
That's
saying,
a fact. And so, question is,
are you saying that the lifting of the ban then compromised the ability to be able to achieve?
I don't know, potentially. Because if people have gone back, and truth is
it not because we've had officials who are complicit or conniving with these so-called called back Galamseyers to
what is the basis of that assertion? What is the basis?
Because they are supposed to supervise.
But I'm saying, so I was making the point that, you see, we need to evaluate the entire program and see whether indeed the number of personnel living who are manning these water bodies are sufficient. Because we know for a fact that if the ban has been lifted and people have gone back to mine, they potentially, if indeed it is true that some security personnel are providing cover, indeed, we have all heard that today they clamor to go for Galamsey operations rather than international peacekeeping. Why?
Is there a new Lebanon?
So where do you then attribute?
But you are not saying
failure on the part of the president.
You are not saying,
and party officials.
You are not saying that these groups or the task force are operating on their own.
No, they are not.
Great.
But
they are being supervised by a ministry.
They're supposed to be working.
A ministry which has a minister appointed by the president in place. That's why they call the committee interministerial.
I agree. But of course, you see, Roland.
Yes, sir.
Let's not pretend as if we don't live here. And that the fact that you have mandated somebody to carry out a specific assignment, that person cannot go on the ground and do something else. Because if the military personnel
best testimony to the failure of leadership.
Best testimony about what? The leaders are going to be on the ground with them. The information ought to come so that leaders can investigate and sanction appropriately.
Right.
But we are interested and excited about some words or some tape which clearly was situated within a particular context. Yes, you may agree or disagree that the party even discussing mining as means of raising funding
for the party
is an issue. We may debate it. I don't have a problem.
You don't think it's a problem?
No, hold on. Let me finish the statement I'm making. But what was the context? And I heard the tape. He says, look, we've had discussions about using want-to-miss concession. What does it mean? A concession is a legal right. So if it is want-to-me who owns a particular concession that he wants to allow the party to mine to raise money to funding the activities of the party, what really is the issue? What really is the issue? What is the issue? But it's exciting for people to jumble everything together and create political and attempt to even equate it with your scandalous Airbus. You sit here and attempt to do that. That we have signed up to international agreements and that Ghana will look bad.
National protocols.
Where were you in this country in 2016?
Right.
Look online at the stories of how our water bodies were being polluted under your watch. What did you do?
But they're still polluted.
What did you do? I agree. And that's why I'm saying that these videos that you are showing,
all of us are concerned, but you should be more concerned because it falls rightly in your constituency.
Look, it's not even about my constituency. It's about the people of Ghana. It's about the natural resource of this country. And so we should have a national conversation and stop seeking to exploit some issue for political gain. It doesn't help anybody.
You're saying this approbation is wrong.
But is it?
Okay.
Is it right?
Let me read this.
Please.
Let me read this. Mr. You used to teach biochemistry,
one.
right?
Yeah, quick one.
You used to teach biochemistry.
Yes, quick one before.
Yes, sir.
Quick one. You see, my brother should understand that that one, the issue about the total ban doesn't come in at all, because when Charles Bisu was caught on tape, there was a ban in place. There was a ban. When on the tape, he was seen.
At the time that Charles Bisu
was please.
Okay.
There was the ban was still in place. The ban was still in place.
At the time that Charles Bisu's tape came out,
yes, there was a ban.
If you have a cursory inspection of the water bodies, they were clean.
No. No. You see, let me tell you. The same.
Are you saying that the water bodies were not clean
no.
at that time?
That was when the issue about the water body. That was when people disputed the fact that
cannot be true.
No, please.
That was at the height of success of the committee trying to sanitize illegal mining.
Listen, that was when there was some information that government officials were seriously. What they were doing was that they were removing those who were the original Galamseyers were asked to leave for party people to take over. Can you imagine? Look, he's talking about the fact that
which party person do you know?
Please, okay. Wait a minute. Let me finish mine. Look, he said what? The excavators were given to what? To who? Is that what the law says? The law says the seized equipment must be in the custody of the police.
Well, that's what the law says.
But what does being in the custody of the police mean? That they should be at the police station.
But you see, no, it doesn't really matter.
So they could be kept at a particular yard and the police people provided to...
So Frimpong wants to become a policeman to decide where to keep the excavators, right? So Akuffo-Addo has already become, he has all of a sudden become a policeman. So if he had a yard...
has explained.
Sorry?
But initially...
No,
initially,
the fact, I said the law, you and I, we sat in parliament and passed a law that this equipment, when seized, should be in the custody of the police. Where the police decide to keep it is immaterial. You understand? It is not the minister. It is not for the minister to decide that the vice chairman somewhere should be keeping an auctioneer and the vice chairperson of the party be keeping the equipment.
You have to separate the two.
Separate
because he has a company.
He can't separate it. His motives are clear.
He has a company that's offering a service.
Oh, gentlemen.
And you are not saying that.
Is it the police that procured that service or the minister?
It was a committee.
The law says that, no, but the point is that the law says
it was an interministerial committee.
Please. The law says seize the equipment, give it to the police.
That's the law, yeah, I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Why did if you had no...
But they had no in collaboration with the police.
Because they wanted to just give these equipment to their people, which they have done. They have succeeded in doing, giving them to go back and mine. That's why they decided to go and keep it with their chairman. And then you listen to the tape, and the man said, look, we needed money for our party. If you need money for the party, it's Galamsey that will give you money. If you are talking about, they said,
in the tape,
he said, who says wound to me is not a Galamsey? Who says he was not involved in Galamsey?
But Galamsey in itself,
the intent. Listen, please. You see, let us not muddy that. You see, the issue is that look, the problem we have in Ghana. Look, we have people who have been given, concessions to explore. Exploration doesn't mean go and mine. You understand? And these people, what they do is that when they get the exploratory, license or the concession to explore, what they do is that they go and then in turn share, into portions for Galamseyers to go and mine. And that was what Woodley was doing. So, my brother,
do you agree? You're a former biochemist teacher.
Yes.
Do you agree when you have a concession?
Yes.
It means that you have lawfully
please
gone through. No. You have lawfully gone through the processes of acquisition.
Listen.
Licensing.
When you are developing, you see, look, there are processes involved in.
I know what the act says. So
yes.
So I'm saying
yes.
that. Do you agree that if Roland Company Limited,
that's right,
has a concession, it will mean that Roland Company Limited has gone through all the processes?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because you see, what I'm saying, there are 2 licenses. Please, we have the exploratory license, which doesn't give you.
But you know the nature of the license that you want to be asked.
I know.
Where is it? Do you have a copy?
I know. You see,
you have a copy of Woodley's license.
Let me just. I was a deputy minister at the lands, ministry. So I know. You understand? I know what went on and how hands-on and whatever.
And in your time too, you didn't succeed. Because
the reason I said, look, you see, if I had time, I'll go back for the Hansard and then get you a copy of what I said. What I said was that, look, we need to learn from the
recent past.
Yes, because look, we had a situation. We had 2 operations. One operation Cowlet, and then this anti-Galamsey fight.
They failed.
Listen. And in the process, and why do we learn? I mean, why, how do we learn? You understand? So in the process, I said that, look, some of these people, when they get close to these activities, they get converted. You understand? Because you start seeing gold, I mean, then you'll be influenced by the people. And therefore, if you are not serious with the whole operation, you might get compromised. And that's the reason why I said, look, the approach is wrong. It will not succeed.
What do you think should have been the approach?
Right? You see, before we left government, we identified that we need to get alternative, sources of livelihood for these people.
Well, the president also said
right.
that.
Are they doing that? Are they doing that? We started. Everything was abandoned. Look, we also formed. You see, we asked that all the small scalers, right, came together, form a group. Identified group that can be taught, that can be given, training. You understand? So that they go about these, they go about their activities in a more civil way. That will not, affect us so much. You understand?
But
please, and
it's the same intent.
It wasn't. It started. It started because we realized that the approach of just organizing police and whatever to go to the sites
will not work.
Will not. So let's find a way. And then the process even get to those people who, the main.
But let me ask you,
yes.
Why do you think somebody who mines gold, whether illegally or not,
yeah,
should be asked to go and undertake concrete works or something to earn a living?
Oh.
I mean, once he's seen the Garden of Eden.
Please.
Dodo Forest will never satisfy him.
And interestingly, they identify the alternatives.
No, please, let me tell you.
Former deputy minister.
Even in our quest to get them out of the business, we really sat them down and made them. You see, we did proper assessment.
Let's go to Martin Amidu Airbus.
The cost involved and the risk. If you do a proper assessment of the cost and the risk involved in doing Galamsey, you realize that at the end of the day, they don't even make any profits. Those who sit in the crack and fund the business are those who make the money. The guys who are on the ground don't really make anything, right? And they were beginning to understand and appreciate, what we're telling them before we left power.
Well, let me quote Dr. Tony Obing. He was a former Minerals Commission Chief Executive, and he asked some critical questions. He says, have water bodies become clean? No. Have people stopped mining without the requisite licenses? No. It has even gone underground. And he says, you will define all these and the obvious answer you will know. We haven't succeeded, he concludes. Well, let's move on to Airbus. And we also do know that the president has asked Martin Amidu to swiftly undertake the investigations. And we had a statement from Mr. Martin Amidu. Says we shouldn't be politicizing the subject. And I know that when we're talking about this, there will be no politics and its inferences in our comments.